Hey, hello to the 757 Spy flight deck. Wow, has there been a lot of really exciting new airplanes coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hello there, I'm Dave. I do the Spy Flights over on Twitch, and we've got all sorts of great new airplanes to talk about. The one that really caught my eye was this little guy right here. This is the BAe146. It's brand new. It's been just released from Just Flight. I picked it up yesterday. I've done one successful flight in it, and I've messed around with it just a little bit, so this is technically my second flight with this great little airplane. About, 40, 50, 60 passengers. I only had the opportunity as a passenger to fly in this just once. It was a very short flight, but it was a relatively comfortable little flight here. So let's just jump right into doing this. Basically, this is a fly-along type of a thing, okay? My first look at this airplane, but it's also a fly-along for you. So let's talk about the flight that we're going to do today. We are flying Atlanta to Chicago today. It's a little United Express flight. The add-ons that I'm going to be using for this are toolbar pushback, that's free. NDP charts, that's from Aerosoft, that's not free. Neither is Navigraph data. I do suggest those eventually, unless this is just a casual game for you. If you're really going to dive into Flight Sim, you're going to want one or two of those, and if you really want to be, freakishly into this like I am, then you're going to probably end up with both. SkyVector, that is a free flight planner, and I got to tell you, it is one of my favorite tools that I've been using for a long time here in flight simulation. And here it is over here. This is our SkyVector flight for today. I use this to go and do VOR to VOR navigation, and this is it right here. And by the way, it's free. So one of the things you get off of SkyVector, though, is you're going to get the frequencies. You're going to get track, true heading. You're going to get all sorts of great information, distance between each of the waypoints, if you like that too. You can also do like the real pilots, and you can keep track of your actual time of arrival that you're going to be, and you can do dead reckoning, which is probably one of the most unfortunately named things in aviation, but you can even do that as well. So this is a great tool, skyvector.com. The other tool that we're going to use that's online is called Metar-Taf, and this is a great tool for determining what the weather is going to be like. So we're going to fly with real world weather. Now this is the weather for me. Chances are when you watch this on YouTube, it's going to be a little bit different. So let's go and do that now. Go on up here and go to the weather tab, and we're going to hit real weather, and we're going to hit real time, because that's the way we kind of fly these things. So Metar.taf, there we go. Oh my gosh, do you see all the clouds pop in? Yeah, there's going to be some showers and thunderstorms to the west of us, so we got to get this flight going here. So Metar.taf, this is a great website, especially if you are new in the world of flight sim. Back to the plan today, there is also a list of checklists and flows that I want to suggest that you go ahead and pick up, and pick these up. You can pick them up from flightsim.to, and that's this file right here. It's a PDF file. It's a really nicely done. There's a couple of little typo type things in here, and I'm sure that the developer who made this and made it really, really nice, PH-BKO, did such a good job on this. So if you're new to this airplane, I really want to suggest that. Also, I suggest having the flight manual PDF here. There's a tutorial flight that you can do from Jersey up to Liverpool. I did that yesterday, and it didn't crash, so I guess that's a thing. I do use SimToolkit Pro and SimBrief for my flight plan. Here's my flight plan. It's got all my fuel and everything else, and then here is that nav log so that I've got my frequencies. I'll be telling you what the frequencies are as we fly along. And the cool part about doing these fly-alongs like this is I am going to try and keep this super simple, but this is a very complex airplane. I think it's one of the most complex in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, there's a couple of rabbit holes that I'm going to try to avoid. There's flight management system on here. It's fairly standard, but we're just going to do VOR to VOR navigation. We'll tackle the FMC on the next video I do about this airplane. And as I always like to say in these things, there is not a right way versus the wrong way. This is just what I found that works for me. My goal is to help you start up the airplane, taxi, takeoff, cruise, land, and get to the gate without making the evening news. If we can do that, then, success. So this is what works for me, and I hope it's what works for you. If this is your first time watching one of these, here's what you do. Fly along with me. So pause the video. That's the beauty of YouTube. You can pause the video. You can even roll it back if I did something a little bit too fast so that you can catch up. So pause the video. Get your airplane set up. I also like to suggest that after you do a fly along with me like this, take this airplane on what I would call your hometown flight. Go to your hometown airport, either fly to it or depart from an area that you know, that you recognize the landmarks. Just kind of helps cement the things that you might pick up from here. And then, of course, in the end, I hope you'll join us for the Spy Flights on Twitch. It's Tuesday through Sunday, 1900 Zulu. Here's a little more information. We're going to depart off 26 left. Cruise level today is flight level 320, so 32,000 feet. Those are our VORs. Landing on runway 28 center at Chicago O'Hare. We may have a runway change, though. There's a weather system out there. Flight time today should be 1 hour and 40 minutes long. Flight distance is 552 nautical miles. Now, generally, one of the things that I will do on these kinds of flights here is I will pause the video a few times, just when there's nothing going on. So you may have to pause the video a little bit too while you're flying along as well. So I think that's about it. Only other thing that I've really done here, aside from my normal flight notes, is I've gone and I've created my little to-do list. Now, if you would like a copy of this to-do list, it's free. There's a Discord, the Discord down in the description below, along with a link to that really, really cool set of flight flows that I showed you, the checklist. And I'm also going to put a few others like Metar-Taf, and we'll also do a link to SkyVector. Okay, so you should find those links in there and a couple of my flight notes that I've made. So let's go ahead and get in this airplane. We are at Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport. So Atlanta Hartsfield, United is down here at the big T hangar, the T concourse here. There's the big canopy for dropping people off. Of course, Hartsfield is a huge Delta airport, so mostly United's just going to do a couple of commuter flights. Maybe a small Airbus up to one of its big hubs. Okay, so here's our little airplane. You can see that there's chocks in place. We got our 4 little engines out there. The only way to open the door is from the inside of the airplane. So if you want a little bit of that immersion, I do suggest that maybe you set up something called quick views. Okay, so quick views are a big thing that I like to do, and I've got a lot of different airplanes that I fly, but you know what I try to do? I try to keep my quick views all the same. So if this were the 747, the MD-11, the Cessna 152, or this airplane, quick view number 0, the number 0 on the number pad is always the main pilot view right here. And that just makes it so simple when you're in the middle of a huge VATSIM event trying to do 20 other things, and your view is always there. Another thing that I do is over on my flight stick, I have one of my buttons conveniently set to go home. Okay, I always have a go home button so that if I'm flying along and I'm looking around in something, but oh my gosh, I've got to see in front of me, and my hands are busy, with throttles and also the stick here, I've got a go home button, which always returns me to the main view. Next views that I have here, this is what I call the autopilot view. So that's button number 1. Button number 2 is the McDo, or the FMC. We're not really going to use that today. This is what I call the big instrument view. This is engines and nav instruments. The next one is nav instruments. Then I got the upper panel. I've got the console. Number 8 is always the electronic flight bag. And then 7 is lookout to the right, left. Number 9 is lookout to the right. And so those are my quick views, and it really makes being able to get around the cockpit easily. So let's go down to the Just Flight electronic flight bag. I think they've done a good job with this. So guess what? This thing actually talks to SimBrief, but you got to go into settings here, and you have to check the login to SimBrief. Okay? After you do that, you can go to Home, And OFP, actually, you could have gone to OFP. You didn't have to go home. And if you've put in your SimBrief username and hit continue, guess what it's going to do? It's going to go and get your flight plan for you and put it right into the electronic flight bag. So all of this is looking pretty good. You can also look at a map, some charts, but we're going to go to the aircraft right now. And there's a setting spot up here in the aircraft, my settings. Sync your altimeters. You're going to be busy enough. TCAFs, VSI, that's nice. You can save your state. Pilot callouts. Oh, yes, I love pilot callouts. That's the co-pilot saying V1, rotate, that sort of thing. I usually turn the cockpit pilots off, flight simulator people, the people that Flight Sim tries to simulate. They're all kind of creepy. Go ahead and have the interior cabin. I've got auto ground idle set up. I haven't changed much of these things, but I've got these things all set up for us. So let's go over here and we'll go to the forward passenger door. We're also going to do forward cargo and aft cargo. Let's just get those open right now. The other thing that we're going to do is get our fuel in. So I go and let's click fuel. And it flashes at you, and our fuel is 14,190 pounds of fuel. Uh-oh, I said pounds. It said kgs. Yeah, you got to switch it over to pounds. Okay, you got to switch it over to pounds if you're doing pounds. So let's click our fuel again. It's flashing again. 14190. 14190. Type slowly and hit enter, and that should put your fuel in. Now let's click zero fuel weight. It should start flashing. It should start flashing. Oh, come on. Don't make a liar out of me. There you go. You just have to click in different parts of the box. It flashes. Zero fuel weight is 62060. 62060. You might have noticed, and enter. You might have noticed that I was doing it slowly. Yeah, don't try and do it fast on this airplane. It gets cranky that way. Okay, so we've got 7,000 pounds over here, 7,000 pounds over there. That kind of adds up to 14,190. So at least we know that the fuel's good. This passenger total, it's about 48 pounds. All of that's good. You could also hit the cold and dark button if you want to. We're not going to use ground power for the start. We'll use the APU for the start. And really, all of this is good. For another level of immersion, if you would like to, you could deploy the air stairs. So this airplane has some air stairs in there. I'm going to go over here, and toolbar pushback, you can control your jetway. Go to the aircraft, hit the jetway button, get out of there, and we'll just put a jetway over there. How's that sound? It's already got a pushback truck over there. You can see that I've got my cargo doors open. And I think that if you hit some cargo buttons, they'll even drive a cargo truck up there. So you can get yourself a little bit of immersion. But we'll just go over here and you can see we got a nice jetway in place. So there you go. All right, so according to my notes, the electronic flight bag is on, flight plan is downloaded, main cabin door is open, air stairs aren't needed, cargo doors are open, zero fuel weight, gate fuel is done, and now there's a couple of things to check. So look down here, make sure that the speed brakes, or they call them air brakes in this airplane, are down, or closed, I think is what the term is. Your flaps are up. And that's good. Make sure it also matches your controllers, your Thrustmaster controller or whatever. The gear lever is down. Some airplanes are starting to randomly put those in different positions because sometimes you might find them in different positions. So there you go. And there is the initial startup. We are ready to go and start pushing more buttons. Come on up here. And this will be a little awkward, but as we go around, we're going to start turning things on. So battery 1. And battery 2. Make sure you click these. Sometimes if you just tap them and, sometimes they don't click. Okay, so we got those. Those are good. Let's go up here. And navigation lights are up here. So we're going to do nav, and they go to high intensity. So navigation lights are going to go on to high intensity. We're going to be fueling the airplane, so no smoking. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in on this one just a little bit here. So this is an interesting button, the no smoking button here. And I'm going to kind of go off to the side and tilt it over here just a bit. So the no smoking, you see, there's 3 positions here. So over here on the beacon, it's on and off. click it, and click it. That's all there is to it. This airplane, though, it's off, auto, and on. This one, you can use the little mouse wheel, and so I'll click it up. There's auto, and I'm going to turn it off, do no smoking on. We're fueling the airplane. You turn on, you always have that on there. Okay, so those are good. Now we got to do cabin emergency lights. This is an interesting one too. So to do cabin emergency, it's a guarded switch. So I think you have to unguard it. And then this time we're going to arm it. So right now it's off. So just one click of the thumb wheel, it's armed, and we're going to re-guard that emergency light switch. And all of those are good. Another thing that you're going to do is come down here. Here's your parking brakes. You see parking brakes are on and off. It's let me zoom in just a little bit. So this is one of those things that you kind of pull. So click it. There's parking brakes off. There's parking brakes on. And then you can look down here and you can turn it from right to left with the thumb wheel. That thumb wheel there switches from the right or left hydraulic system, or the yellow or green, I believe. You want it to be pointed over here to yellow, Y-E-L. Now we've got chocks in place, so all we're doing is making sure that the brake selector is set to yellow, and that's it. Okay, we're going to come back up here, and we're going to do a few more things. So we're going to go up to the top, not that far up. Okay, so we're going to do the yawn dampers, because the last thing I want is anybody watching this video and yawning. And there's your really bad joke for the video, okay? Yaw dampers 1 and 2 are on. AP Master, Autopilot Master is on. Avionics A and B, those are going to go on as well too. Anti-skid, so anti-skid is down here. And this one has one of those little guard switches, so I think you have to slide it over, and anti-skid goes on, and then you can re-guard it. Auto spoiler is inoperative, but we're going to do the lift spoilers, yellow and green. The lift spoilers are going to go on too. Let's go down a little bit further, and we've got a couple of switches here. We're going to do yellow and green AC DC bus. So there is, those are pumps. Those are, we're going to electric, sorry. So we'll come down here. Some of my buttons aren't great. Okay, bus ties, AC, DC bus ties are going to go on. Standby inverter and standby generator are both going to go on too. Make sure that some of these actually click all the way down. Make sure it's not one of those switches where there's like 3 options there. Okay, the APU generator, we got to get that one on too. So this is, zoom out a little bit. APU generator is going to go on. Make sure it's on. That's one of those 2 switches it's got to be on. Generators 1 and 4 need to be all the way down, and that's off reset. But the APU generator, and make sure you do it twice. I only did it once, and it didn't work out so well for me. Okay, left inner fuel pump. Here's your fuel pumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a left outer and an inner, and a right inner and a right outer. So left inner fuel pump is going to go on. And with the left inner fuel pump going on, we get to go and turn on the APU master. And the APU master is right up here in the middle. And just go ahead and hit start. Uh-oh. This is a one, I clicked it one time too many. So let's see, we've got RPM, we've got the TGT, which I believe is this airplane's version of exhaust gas temperature. So we got the APU RPM coming up, and I think we're gonna probably hear some sounds picking up here too. As the APU master is coming online, we can go over here and hit the APU switch. Air switch, that's over here on the right. Low fuel pressure. Uh-oh, it's clicking on. Let's do APU air. APU air is on. Okay, so this airplane has 2 packs set up here like this. And basically what they say in the instructions is they want you to use, while we're starting the plane like this, just use one. And if you're going to use, if today is an odd day, use pack 1. If it's an even day, use pack 2. I don't think it makes that big of a difference in the simulator, but in the real world it does, so we want to be like real pilots. So I just turned pack 2 on right now. MWS and ground tests. Okay, so there are. This is a little rabbit hole-ish here for you. There you could go and do all of the little warning tests, and you do the warning test. You come on over here and you see there's this red switch. You can click it and click it again, and all of your lights are on. And so what you can do after that is click it in the middle spot, and it's actually one of those buttons where there's 3 buttons. You don't want to go all the way out. If the light's on, you've clicked it one time too many. Okay, and at this point, we're going to clear the masters and the warning and the caution there. There is another set of rabbit hole tests that you can do, and it's the ground tests up here. And I'm not going to make you listen to those. We want to fly today. So that's what's called, I call them the MWS and ground tests. Engine anti-ice. This is interesting. They've got us turning on the engine anti-ice fairly soon in this. So here is engine anti-ice. It's right in the middle, and they'd like us to do this right now. Engine anti-ice is on, and while we're down here, we're going to do the flight deck emergency lights, and we're going to arm those. So that's 1 click. It's a 3-clicker. So we got to do those. Now then, come down to the console here, and we got some interesting things to turn on. See the yaw damper switch here? Just click it once, and you should get 2 green little lights, yaw damper 1 and yaw damper 2, and that should do that. There is another switch, and this is over here. This is the oxygen main valve, and I think they want us to open it. I don't know. I haven't read anything more about that, so we're just going to go ahead and do those things. And there we go. We're done. So parking brakes. Let's go ahead, and our passengers are coming aboard, so parking brakes are set. Center fuel tank transfer switch. So there is the center fuel tank transfer switch over here. And let's see, center fuel tank transfer switch. And it needs to go to, where did I see that? Center, it goes to auto. So let's come on in here, and it's one of those 3-way rocker switches. So auto. Okay, so that's good. Center fuel tank, cabin pressurization, that's over here. So cabin pressurization's over here. We're going to set this. And basically, we're going to 32,000 feet, so they want you to drag this all the way up, but it's only going to let us go to 29,000 feet. So I don't know if that's a bug, or I don't know if it doesn't let us go any higher. I don't know. I think that the ceiling is 40,000 or something on this airplane. So, 32,000 is probably just fine. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to look down here for something called ice detection. And the ice detection is right down here. And this is one of those interesting little guarded switches here. So go over here to ice detection, turn it on, and then re-guard it. They don't want you turning that off. So we got that set. And the airplane continues to come to life here. Now, if you've already done your zero fuel weights like I did and all that, it's time for us to jump in a real rabbit hole here. And this is basically the auto thrust stuff. And that's going to be over here. And this is the takeoff performance for the thrust management system. Okay. And we're going to start by turning it on. And then we're going to do the temperature reference. So that's what the current temperature is outside the airplane. The METAR says it's 29 degrees. So we're going to dial this to 2 and 29 degrees. Okay, so that's good. The temperature reference is set. The takeoff is going to be, we're going to select takeoff. And so click takeoff. You could also hit the test button and it flashes the lights at you and stuff. And then you can do your target takeoff in degrees Celsius. It says degrees Celsius, but it has 82 degrees here. So it says in the tutorial 84. This is basically a flex temperature or a derate. And after you've got all these things done, you see you've got your little speed card here. Click it. And I don't know if you saw, did you happen to see the speed bugs over here moving around? Yeah, it set your bugs there. It also set our takeoff thrust and the bugs there too. So it took care of all of that stuff for us. And then after you do all of this stuff, you turn it off, because apparently when this thing is on, that messes with your it messes with your engine start somehow. I don't know. But so we have to turn that off. Okay, so guess what? We're knocking stuff off the to-do list. Let's go ahead. Flight director bars. We're going to turn on the flight director bars. That's good. Runway heading. So runway heading is down here. There's that indicator, and here's where you dial it. So 27 something for the 27's our departure runway. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to arm heading. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our cleared altitude. If we were on VATSIM or something, we'd have a cleared altitude. Today, though, we're just going to go to our cruise altitude today. We're keeping it as simple as we can. So what I'm doing is I'm clicking and dragging this to flight level 320, and then using the thumb wheel, the mouse wheel, to fine adjust that and hit altitude arm. And sometimes you have to hit it twice, I've found. So all of those are good to go. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up some of our navigation here, and we're going to get this done right now because it's a great time to do that. Oh, so you remember over here, our first VOR station is going to be GQO 115.8. So we're going to set this over here in the VHF nav. So let's turn it on, which is the big center. The big center. Let's go ahead and get you a better view of this. So can we go up like that? There we go. Right on. So hit the on button, and then go over to the DME, and you have to turn that to on too. And then the display, it goes blank because that's some little warm-up thing. And now we can go ahead and set this. You can set both active and pre. I usually switch the pre button. And we go to 115.8. So big knob is 115, the big number, and then the little knob is 8 and 8. And then here's how you flip it. 1158. Our next VOR station is HCH 1176. So 117. And you need to be kind of deliberate about these, turning the knobs. So you can't just spin the little knobs around. 117.6. And now that's preset in there too. And then our first course heading is going to be 331 degrees. So we'll come over here and set our first course to 331. 331. Well, come on. Okay, there we go. So that's good. And now we're all set to go with that. So guess what? It's time to do before start checks. So first thing, let's go over here. Passengers are aboard. Let's go ahead and do aft cargo, and forward passenger door. Let's also kind of look over here.
Cabin crew, arm doors and cross check.
And let's go to better toolbar pushback and hit the jetway button. And we should be able to see the jetway go away. Right now it's going to retract the canopy, so it always takes a second. And there goes that. So long, jetway. Let's go over here to pushback, and we're going to pre-plan our pushback. And so the pre-planner is really nice. This is something people had been asking the developer of Toolbar Pushback to do for a long time. They finally did it, and wow, is it great. And we're just going to do a straight push and enter. Okay, our parking brake is set, so let's go ahead and get that pushback truck over here right now. Here comes our pushback truck. No reason to wait. Okay, doors are closed. Seatbelts. So seatbelts for this airplane are, and if you look off to the right, it's this switch right over there. Seatbelts are now on. Beacon. So they have the beacon light all the way up here, though. So the beacon is going to go on. That's way up there. APU air goes off. Packs go off. So our packs are off too. So APU air packs, fuel pumps, all of them now go on. So this is sometimes a little confusing. So look over here, and our fuel pumps are left inner, outer. So outer, inner, outer. All of our fuel pumps are on. Some of the to-do lists on this airplane call it just all 4 fuel pumps on, and it's not, it says 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's the outer, inner, and outer, like that one. So fuel pumps are on. Now we're going to slide over here, and we're going to do starter power. Make sure it's in normal. So that's good. Start master is going to go on. And guess what? We're almost ready to go. Let's go over here. Parking brakes are on. I'm going to pull the chocks. Chocks are pulled. Tug is pulled. Let's be a nice pilot and look outside, make sure there's nobody behind us. Nobody's behind us, so we can look down here. Parking brake goes off. And we may get lucky and they may start to push. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You may have to look back up here and, oh, they do it. When you look in there, they start. When you don't, there you go. All right, I think we're ready to do engine start. The start order on this airplane is 4, 3, 2, 1. So start sequence. So we come up here. And let's see. Here is the starter. So we're going to do engine starter to number 4. So there's engine starter to number 4. Engine start switch is right here. Start. Look down at your instruments. Is this going up? It sure is. Let's look at the N2. The bottom one, when it's 10%, 8, 9, 10, go down to your throttles and click that little lever at the bottom, and that should be fuel. Look down here at the bottom. You should see the fuel flow gauge going up a little. Up, just went up. So we're getting a decent start on this one. And we're almost done with our pushback. And just kind of watch that engine as it goes up. Okay, we're done pushback. Let's go and do parking brakes. And they're going to go and disconnect, and you don't even have to do anything. I think toolbar pushback just drives away and says, see ya. Okay, so we're going to monitor the start. We got our engines going. Engine number 4 going. So this is slowly going up. And it idles around 23% or something like that. So we're good to go there, 23%, that looks good. As soon as it stabilizes, back up to the engine panel, we're going to do the engine knob to 3 and start. You hold the switch down for about a second or so. Look at the N1 and N2. When they start to go up, you're looking for 10% N2. There is 9 and 10%. Lift the fuel lever, and we've got another engine going. And you can go outside, and you can hear our 2 little engines going. I think some of the pilots that talk about this airplane joke, and they say it's the airplane with 4 APUs on the wings. Somebody else has called it a little more nasty, calls it the 4 hair dryers. So we got 2 engines going there. All right, and this is coming up. It looks like it's going to idle there at about 20% or something. Looking good. Shall we start another engine? You know what to do. Dial this down to number 2. Hold the switch down for a second. 1, release. Look down at your engine instruments. There's N2 going up at 10%. We look down here and do fuel, and everything's looking good there. There go the numbers. Now you get to, well, as these are going up, if you have a beverage in your cockpit, you can go and do your beverage now. And this thing's going pretty good. Okay, there goes this little engine. The engine start sounds, I think, outside the airplane are pretty good. Pretty good. No complaints about the sounds on this airplane. And there's about 245. Last engine start. Dial it to 1. And starter. 1. And look at the N2. It's going up. We've got fuel flow on the other engines. Now we're going to add fuel flow to this engine. I originally kind of freaked out here. Didn't freak out, but I didn't think that there was fuel flow, but because as you can see, the fuel flow takes a second to start moving, and it doesn't move very much, and the fuel used does not The numbers don't start clicking, so don't worry about that. That's not that huge of a deal. Okay, so we got all of our engines are on. So start master, engine start switch, and there we go. Wait till that one starts, and we got just a few more things to do, and we get to start taxiing. There is a 26,000-foot altitude limitation that applies in icing conditions. It could be that we can't do that because I have anti-ice on. Maybe anti-ice wouldn't let me turn that up. Don't know. You know, still got a lot to learn. Okay, we got our engines going. So after that, the engine master, so start master goes off. There's the start master, and the selector goes off. So those are good to go too. Engine anti-ice is as needed. We're going to go ahead and turn off the engine anti-ice. We're in Atlanta. It's almost summertime, for crying out loud. Okay, so engine anti-ice can go off. Generators 1 and 4. Okay, so generators 1 and 4. Where are those? Ah, look at that. Here they are. Generators 1 and 4. And that's those rocker switches. So we're going to turn those all the way up. Generators 1 and 4. APU air. You remember what that is. It's over here in air. So APU air goes on. Packs 1 and 2 both can go on now. There's packs 1 and 2. Brake fans. We're going to turn the brake fans on right now. Brake fans, they're over here, right? Think I remember brake fans. They're all the way over here. And brake fans, I believe, goes to on. That's the middle position. Okay, so we got those. Engine 2 and 3 hydraulic pumps go on. So engines 2 and 3 hydraulic pumps are over here. So engine 2, engine 3 hydraulic pumps, those are going to go on. AC hydraulic pump goes on. That's a rocker switch, it goes down. And the PTU pump goes on. You have to have a little bit of extra stuff turned on. Like you notice, we've left the APU on for takeoff. So that's good. Now then, there are some heaters. I got to remind myself where those heaters are. Engine pumps, bus ties, common, standby, galley, continuous ignition. It's not those. Let's look over here. Inner wing de-ice. It's all 4 heaters. It's over in the ice protection. So these heaters all go on. And I think this one goes on too. So all of the heaters go on. Takeoff performance system. Remember when we turned that off? Guess what? We get to turn it on again. So hit power. And nothing happens. Hit power again. There it goes. So you can't just kind of click it and move on. You got to actually click it and hold it for a second, and then be sure and reselect the takeoff button, okay? So takeoff has to be on too. All right, so we're good to go there. Transponder, got a transponder down here, and we'll go ahead. We're in the United States, so 2, 1, 2, 3. You can also set something, your ATC ID, you can set that in here too. That's something new in this airplane. I haven't seen that before. And sometimes it's hard to see Terra. So there's TA and RA here. So there's TA, RA. I always pretend that I'm just basically on VATSAM, which means you squawk mode Charlie on the taxiways. So all that's good. Over here for flaps, if you're using the Thrustmaster stuff, I use the Airbus stuff, the Airbus throttle and stick. So guess what? The flap lever works. And there is flaps 18. While the flaps are going out, we can look up here. And here are lights. So, okay, taxi lights are down. Landing lights are up. Okay, there you go. So taxi lights. Rudder and aileron trim. There was a note to just check it, make sure it's centered. So rudder trim and aileron trim. As far as your stabilizer trim, go over here and you see where it says CG, click it. And that sets your takeoff trim for you. Very nice. I know you lose a little immersion there, but we're busy enough as it is. And now what we do is we look down here, and there's a middle button down here above the rudder trim, the aileron trim. It's called config check. Uh-oh. It doesn't like it. Something, it doesn't like I did something wrong. Flight recorder, parking brake, brake fans. What doesn't it like? I got brake fans on. Why is it yelling at me? Pitch. I've forgotten something. And you're going to do that here. Okay. No idea what I could have forgotten here. We don't need continuous ignition. Cabin is secured. Oh, altimeter. Altimeter. And altimeter is 3008. Okay. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, okay. Altimeter, right? And I think, did it set the co-pilots? So it's 3009 there, 3008 there. Well, it's close. There's 3008. Did it set the other one down? 3008. Okay, you think that did it? There's flaps. I think that's good. I bet I didn't solve the problem. Oh, still hates my guts. So what is it that you don't like this time? Flight recorder is off. Parking brake is on. Brake fans are on. I think it doesn't like the fact that the parking brake's on. So let's go over here and let's put your feet on your rudder pedals if you got them. So your toe brakes are on. My toe brakes are on. Parking brake is off. Hey, look at that. It didn't like the fact the parking brakes. Okay. Hey, at least we got the throttle set, right? And cabin is secured. There's a little thing that you can do down here, and it's a little slider. So you slide this over here. Cabin secured, takeoff. So you just do that there, okay? So it's taxi time. So let's see, release parking brakes, make sure your chair's locked in so you don't lean back. Parking brakes are released. You may need to add just a little throttle to get going. I've added two sets of Airbus throttles, put them side by side for a 4-engine setup. And so for taxi on stuff like this, I might use you know, just the two inner engines to start. And then I go in and run them right back down to, idle. Once you get this airplane going, it just goes. So there you go. Nose wheel steering. I'm using the rudder pedals. I haven't set it up to use a twist stick on the tiller yet. So don't have that set up yet. And it looks like we're doing pretty good out here. You'll notice it does pick up speed though as you're going along. And there's a couple of bumps here at Hartsfield, and this is a smaller airplane. Now I think they get here at Hartsfield they'll taxi you out here on this taxiway, Foxtrot, because they're going to have arriving airplanes over here on the other one. So they're going to taxi us out on Foxtrot until we get to the hangar. And if you look at the taxi chart, so here, basically they're going to taxi us out on Foxtrot till we get over here to Delta, and then put us over on Echo, because you can see those are the high speeds for landing. So we're going to be out, we're actually even on the right taxiway here. And you can see our speed's starting to pick up a little bit. So little toe brake. Otherwise it just keeps going and going and going. As far as the model and the textures are concerned, I really like this airplane. It looks pretty good to me. There are some of the airplanes that are coming out. There's some of the textures that almost seem like it's a bit of a throwback to a bad, an older computer game or something like that. So I do have to say I like the way the textures look in this airplane. So very happy with those. Basically what you're going to do is for takeoff, you're going to run your throttles up just above the 40% range there. That is for stable takeoff. And then after you're stable, you run them up to the little yellow mark here. So the little yellow mark goes there. That's your takeoff thrust setting. This airplane does not have an auto throttle. So the auto throttle is the pilot on this thing. I'm hearing some people going, oh no, no auto throttle. Yep. The thing is after a while it becomes kind of a cool challenge. If you're using the Airbus Thrustmaster controls, the speed brake lever works good too. Okay, here's this little jog to the side here. So here goes the speed brakes. So there's speed brakes. You can see the little guy on the tail there. That's kind of cute. And the speed brake lever does work really good. So you got to go ahead and do that little test too. Let's see. My cruise is a little bit shaky on this airplane, so or getting to cruise. I'm not sure that I've got the autopilot set up 100% the way I like it. The flight plan said to use vertical speed on takeoff. The PDF file. Over on the Spy Flight on Twitch, somebody said, no, you really should use IAS for climb, for your climb there. So they said to use IAS on the climb. So I thought, okay, we'll do IAS on the climb. Now, setting that is a different matter. I'm not sure that I know what I'm doing with that yet. So don't let me lead you down the wrong trail there. I'm not sure if setting this bug is what we do. To hold that, that's a little experiment that we're doing on this flight. And boy, does it get bumpy around here. So I'm going to take this bug over here, and I'm going to roll this all the way up to 200. Actually, I want to roll it to about 240 and see what happens. I don't know if I did the right thing or the wrong thing there. It's an experiment. I am definitely experimenting on this flight with you today. Altimeters are checked and set. Everything's looking good. Before takeoff checks are going to be strobe lights. Performance systems, you verify that is indeed set to takeoff. Landing lights need to be on. Throttles, again, up above 40% for stable. And then continue pushing the throttles forward to the V1 reference. There is a way to synchronize them all, and I'll show you that. I'm just making sure that takeoff is there. I'm going to re-click my bugs button. Okay, it reset my bug down here too. So I think it set it to a VREF. I think it probably did based on our weight. So we'll just not mess with it. So much from my grand experiment today. Okay, nothing really to do in here, so that's good. One of the things is that really nice checklist that I showed you. There's a link below to flightsim.to. It does have a couple of gray zones in there, and those would be the actual checklists that the pilots would use. So, you know, before takeoff checklists, those sorts of things. I haven't had a chance to adapt those into my world yet, but I am getting to the point where I'm starting to use those because these airplanes are getting more and more complex, and you gotta have them. You've gotta have them. It's pretty easy to taxi on the ground. It's not like the MD-11, so you're kind of sitting a little bit behind the nose wheel on this airplane, whereas on the MD-11 or the Concorde, you're sitting about a mile ahead of the nose wheel. So your turns feel a little bit weird. If we were on VATSIM right now, we'd probably be getting handed over to tower. That's what those dashes mean on the taxi line. So this is where you monitor tower. And we stop right here. And we're holding short. There's our runway, 26 left. We're not on VATSIM, but we are on multiplayer here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I'm going to look to see, is there anybody on approach? There is somebody over there, but they're at 1,500. I don't think they are a factor. I think we can go ahead and do this. So, releasing the parking brakes, we're going to come up here and I'm going to do my strobes. Strobes are on, and the airplane just taxis on. I've really gotten to the point where I'm content to do a thrust idle taxi most of the time, unless it's a long taxi and there's 5 airplanes stacked up behind me. These airplanes are so much happier when you're doing thrust idle taxis. We'll line up. The tutorial says they want you to stop on the runway here, so we'll go ahead and do that, but eventually at a busy airport like this, you'll want to do a rolling takeoff. Last step of the process, lights go up to landing lights from taxi. Shall we go? So throttles, hands on all 4 throttle levers, the other hand's on the stick, and throttles going up. There is 40. Look down, they're stable.
TMS sets takeoff.
And put these things up there. I'm pushing my throttles all the way up to the little yellow mark. There are speed callouts, so look out the window.
Speed alive, both sides. 80 knots, cross-checked.
Checked.
Power set, N1 achieved. V1. Rotate. V2.
Landing gear up.
Positive rate of climb, gear up.
How about that? We made it. Look, Mom, we're flying. Okay, so we're going to do runway heading just a little bit here. I'm going to get my flight directors as close to set as I can. And then we can come over here, and if all is good, we could hit AP. AP is engaged. And if you had your flight directors set, you should be able to just let go of the stick or let go of the stick. And all of that's great. After takeoff, landing gear is up. How's our speed? Speed, flaps up. Autopilot's engaged. Engine air can go on. So engine air, that's these guys over here. Engine air 1, 2, 3, 4. Engine air is on. APU air is going to go off. Thrust management, we're going to hit a new button here. We're going to hit the sync button. Now we're going to sync it, and then we're also going to hit thrust management master. And we're going to make the master the #1 throttle. So your #1 throttle there is going to basically sync all of these across. Okay, and we've already gone across the VOR line. So let's go ahead and make a turn. So we got to turn back. So we're picking up the first VOR radio station, and we kind of went across the radial there. That's how fast things move on this flight plan. Okay, so thrust management is sync, thrust manager is idle. AC hydraulic pump goes off. AC hydraulic pump. And if you can't see it, come over here, zoom in. AC hydraulic pump is off. The PTU pump, off. APU master, off. That's just the APU button. Okay, everything looks relatively good right now. Now this is where I haven't kind of mastered how to set things up in this airplane. So right now we appear to be cruising along here at about 150 knots. That's our climb. Uh-oh, what don't you like? Oh, it just says the APU is off. And you also turn off the brake fans now. Brake fans are off. Okay, everything's good to go there. So this is the part of the flight where I haven't quite figured out. I would love to be able to go and lower the nose a little bit here I think we're, you know, we could be climbing a little bit shallower. We're doing about 2,000 feet per minute, but our speed is slow. And my guess is that ATC is going to be moving me along faster. So this is a part that I need to understand a little bit more about the airplane. But everything is pretty good on this checklist. We're passing 9,000 feet and coming up on 10,000 feet. There's 10,000 feet. Let's do landing lights off. Let's do a cabin call. Let them know 10,000 feet. That reminds the passengers, hey, stay in your seats. 78 miles from our next checkpoint. And this, we're getting closer. We could probably turn a little bit more north to get on our assigned course a little bit faster. If we were in a really big VATSIM event, then I would want to be right on top of it. But okay, right now we're just going to kind of chill. And the airplane's still flying. If you buy this airplane, you are going to get, I believe, at least 3, possibly 4, and maybe even 5 variants, I think, that I've counted on this airplane. I think they get progressively longer. This is the 100, so this is the smallest of the 3, 4, or 5. I forgot how many are in there. There's 12,000 feet. So with anti-ice off, let's see if I can do this a little bit more. Yeah, nope, can't. So it does really stop here, at least for now, and it could very well be it's because I did something wrong, but I can't pressurize this up to 35, so no idea how to do that. There's also a rate up here that you can change. I have no idea. These are things I haven't jumped into that rabbit hole yet. There's also the flight management computer. This looks an awful lot. In fact, I think this is the the FMC from working title. I think they've done a couple of modifications. I have not jumped into the FMC yet. There is a button though under here, and if you look. Where is it? It is, I believe it's maybe, no. There's a GPS button somewhere, and I knew where it was, but I don't think I know where it is now. Maybe it's, I don't think it's HS1. We're set to nav. I'm not sure. It could be this button here. This is now not the time to experiment. We are passing 15,000 feet. If you're using Sim Toolkit Pro, one of the things you could do is you could have a look over here and see how you're doing. And you can see we're getting kind of close over here to our flight path. We've taken off from Hotlanta, and we're going to go up through Georgia. There's going to be Chattanooga, so that'll be us in Tennessee. If you are new to Flight Sim, there is nothing wrong with using an external flight planner like Sim Toolkit Pro, little nav map. Navigraph has a flight tracker too. There is nothing wrong with using those things. Uh-oh, we have a light on here. It's yellow. Ice detected, huh? Okay, if ice is detected, we're going to go and turn on the anti-ice. Engine anti-ice for sure. So ice detected, very important. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a, you know, sort of like, hey, pilot, dude, ice detected. Maybe a warning horn or something. And we are coming up on 18,000 feet. That is transition altitude in the United States. No little button to push, so at 18,000 feet, you dial it down to 2992. And you may have to fine-tune your backup altimeter and fine-tune the first officers. So there's 18,000 feet. As a rule, as a simulator airline captain, I'm not a real one, As a simulator airline captain, I generally keep the passengers in their seats until right around 25,000 feet. At 25,000 feet, if there's no turbulence, that's when I'm going to go and turn off seatbelts. If we're being held at a low altitude for a while, maybe I'll turn it off a little bit sooner. You know, chances are there's somebody back there in the cabin that went to Starbucks and they got the venti instead of the grande, and they're sitting back of their seat going, when do I get to go to the bathroom? Okay. And trust me, as an airline passenger, you only do that once. And you know I speak from experience on that, don't you? So, yeah, you only do that once. There's coming up on 20,000 feet. We're climbing at about 1,500 feet per minute. Again, we're climbing at about 150 knots. I don't know if that's right. Well, we could check and see. Let's see what it said in the, as Starflies likes to say, let's RTFM here. Okay, so let's go on down here to after takeoff. So let's go down here. Taxi. Okay, here we are. Takeoff. Speed 143 down the runway. Retract the flaps as you climb, and 1,500 feet. Once in stable climb, adjust your pitch to maintain the climb speed of 190. So we should be able to go to 190. It didn't tell me how to adjust my pitch here. And let's see, it's also, so 190. Let's see if I can dial this up and see if I can dial this to about 190 and see if it'll drop the nose here a bit. I don't know if setting that bug will do that or not. Oh, it looks like we're getting close to our spot in the sky. There's the VOR radio. We're 58 miles away from our next VOR. I've tried to push the nose down myself. That didn't work so well, and I don't see another place to go and change that. So this is, there's more stuff to learn here. Okay, we are out of the clouds. The light is out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off anti-ice. And that's good there. Everything's looking pretty good. As you saw, we've synced this. All of our engines are relatively close. This one's a little lower. I don't know why my number 4 engine's a little lower. But it is. There's 23,000. We're still climbing nicely. There's gear. I don't think that there's anything that I could do down here to change this. We could experiment. So we have the takeoff. There's MCT. There's TGT and descent. You want to see what the TGT does? Let's see what TGT does. If that increases our speed, then that was cool. If it just sort of sits there and says, you're an idiot, then did that change the target speed by any chance? Or are you just going to sit there and hold my speed at 150? Yeah, it's gonna make me look like an idiot. Okay, we're right on our course heading here. So let's go a little bit over here and dial in 180. 331, I mean. Now we're not using any of the other nav aids. We're not doing anything down there with the FMC. So it's keep that little course heading centered up. That's the name of this game here. So if it goes a little over back and forth, all you can kind of do is just go back and forth there. Okay, so target didn't do anything exciting. So let's see. If target didn't do anything exciting, how about let's go back to the instructions, which says sync, and master is set to 1. So that should drop this engine down now. But we're not doing anything else in the climb. And like I said, I haven't seen the vertical speed for something like this, so I'm sure it's right in front of me. And if you're watching and you know, you're probably screaming at your computer screen right now, you idiot, it's this button right here. Nothing really to do up here right now. APU is off. The packs are on. Couple of things that you can do to make the instruments a little easier to see. If you look down here, you can see here is something called panel instruments. And I usually like to turn these up. Do you see how it's backlit now? Okay, there's also one here for the glare shield. So you turn that up, you can see the glare shield. Those instrument labels are brightening up a little bit. There's also one up here. So overhead panel. So that takes care of the overhead panel. And then all the way down here on the pedestal, there's one more for the forward console and the after console. And so that's how you can brighten those up. That really helps knowing where those switches are, where those little knobs are, especially when it gets dark. There is also a right next to them, I don't know if you saw, there are some there's some floodlights, so you can make your cockpit brighter at night too. Okay, we're getting a little bit to the right of our course, so let's go ahead and dial this over just a little bit more. Guess the wind isn't blowing us off as much as I thought it was. We're still doing a nice climb here. Once we get into cruise, we're going to take a walk through the cabin. Well, then I'm going to hit the pause button here, and generally what I will do is wait until we're about 100 miles from top of descent. Now, with this flight plan, we're just doing VOR to VOR and stuff, so I've already done the top of descent calculation, which is insanely easy. You grab a calculator, you take your altitude, which is 32,000 feet. You take the altitude you want to go to. In this case, it's going to be 4,000 feet, so subtract 4,000 feet. You multiply that times 3, divide that by 1,000, and you're going to need approximately 84 miles to do your descent. And so then you just kind of look at your charts and say, okay, this is about 84 miles before we need to be 4,000 feet. And since this is a very, very generic, loosely defined flight plan, basically what that means is, if we look over here in the map, so that means we're going to want to start our descent right here at BVT a little after, and you can see SimBrief has already predicted it beyond the BVT waypoint. So there you go. You could also just use that prediction, and those predictions work fairly well too. There's 29,000. You get to have another beverage. And there's 5,000 there. So this little bug did not help me at all. It didn't change anything. Don't see anything else that I'm going to be able to do that. Is there anything down here? No, I don't see anything there. Slightly off to the side of our course. We're 32 miles out, so we'll do a little adjustment. I think that since the autopilot has control, I'm not going to just go and start playing around with the trim controls or something. So that's clearly some rating to do. You can see about 6,000 in each tank. And fuel. Now the fuel is labeled in kilograms, and I think so these gauges are going to be in kgs. So it doesn't matter whether you selected pounds, but this is going to be a way to keep track of that. There is a thing that you can do over on the co-pilot side that's a little interesting. So this is part of your flight. You do your day, your month, and your year. You put this stuff in over here. The co-pilot puts the day, the month, and the year on that. That's kind of entertaining. And you heard the altitude horn, so we've got about, what, 600 feet to top a climb. At that point in time, I will tell you that my speed is going to be increasing. SimBrief says this is going to be a Mach 0.7 cruise, so I'm going to put this little bug over here just to remind me for Mach 0.7. And you can see Mach is indicated here. There's also the barber pole, so that gives us VNE, and yes, this airplane will remind you if you're going too fast. So, you know, you do have to keep your eye on the throttle. You probably have time to run to your special flight simulator galley and grab a snack or a beverage or something. So it's not constant, but you do have to keep an eye on these sorts of things. And here we are, coming into our final cruise, 31,000 feet. And if we look here, now all of a sudden you can see our speeds coming up. So don't know how it is that I could have got that climb to 190 or something, but that would have sure been nice. And because we've got the thrust management already set to sync and master, when I go and I roll my throttle back just a little bit, it should help us just keep those all synced up. Even if your throttles are a little bit uneven, you know, you can only calibrate them so much. And it'll just kind of inch up here like it is right now. So it's just inch up there. But eventually it gets there. Let's see, we did pass 25,000 feet. We should have done seatbelts. So there we go. Now for this airplane, you can walk around. You can come over here and you can roll out the observer seat. You can't open the doors, but you can walk through them. And if you walk through the door, you can... I hit the pause button. You can walk around the cabin here. So we got a nice little galley. There's coffee machine. Of course, they put away the pizza. There's the door to the cockpit. There's the bathroom. There's air stairs if you don't have a jetway. You can deploy the air stairs without hydraulic power. You just can't tuck them back up again. So you can't do that. We got some nice lighting over here. It is basically all one class, one cabin class here. So it's all probably basic, you know, economy / steerage. You kind of come over here and set yourself in a seat and look out the window. This is going to be kind of interesting. So there we go. How's that look? And this is usually the seat. This is usually what the seat that I get. So that's not a bad view right there. That's actually a really pretty good view. You get to see the engines right there and a nice view outside. Yep, that's about it. Cabin signs don't show up in this airplane like they do in some others. But I need to save this as a view. Not a bad one. And I'm not going to look in the seat pocket. There's probably something gross in there. How's our speed? Oh, look at that. It's now already at 210. So our speed's coming up. Oh, look at this. We're moving, it's 11 miles. So let's go ahead and get ourselves all set up on our course heading here. Our next course heading and our next VOR, according to the nav log, is HCH 117.6. So let's see if we're picking up 117.6 yet. No, we're not picking up 1176. But we're so close. How close are we to the old one? Let's go to the other one. We're 8 miles away. So let's go ahead, and the heading over to HCH is going to be 5 degrees. So let's go ahead, 005. So we'll set this up to 005. 3 and 005. Okay, not bad. Now then, so it's 7 miles, so we'll just keep on our current heading for another 6 miles and 9. And then we'll make our turn in just a second. I see Blitz 615 is up ahead of us in an MD-82. That's another one of the big, exciting airplanes that came out. I think that this is the airplane that kind of captivated my attention more. The Mad Dog, the MD-80 is an amazing airplane. But I've got a jet. I've got jets like that. I don't have anything like this. So that was kind of the reason why I kind of wanted to do. This one was different. Uh-oh. Look at that. Our speeds really kicked up there. Throttle back. Overspeed is something that happens usually fairly quickly. And now we're going to keep an eye here. There's 5 miles. And if this starts going down... So we wanted to hold about Mach 0.7. Yep, that's Mach 0.7 right there. So we're a little bit fast. Our engines are still synced. Is it going down even more? Or is it, if it's holding, then we're good. Uh-oh, 6.8. We already passed it. Turn to heading. Missed that. VOR to VOR in a jet is a lot of work. And that looks good. Let's go ahead and flip the radios. And our next radio after HCH is LVT 108.4. So 108.4. Now, one of the things that you could do is we've got another radio over here. There's a VHF navigation radio. I think that's Nav 2. And we could set that up over here and get Nav 2 out of this and let us know if we're picking that up. But I've done this part of the flight, and so I kind of know that we're going to be fine. Okay, we're starting to lose a little bit of speed here. So we're going to go ahead and push our throttles all forward just a bit. We're at 80%. So let's go to about 85. And again, the thrust manager should keep it synced, all based off of throttle number 1. So there's 86. Okay, it's trying to even those out. Let's see if that keeps us at Mach 0.7. Oh, look at this. We're picking up our new radio station. So we're 38 miles away from this one. So, and we're a little bit off course. I'm not surprised. So let's do a little bit of a turn here and get ourselves on course. Now, chances are one of these is, so here is LNAV. That would be if we had this set up. Here's something called B-Lock. That could be a way to, I don't know if that's a landing button, V and L. I don't know about these yet, so I'm not going to mess with those. But, you know, I would think that maybe this would be something that it would do like a VOR follow or track to the VOR. Haven't learned about it yet. Okay, so this one's coming on up there. That looks good. Let's see if we can get over on our course. Shall we see how bad I'm doing here? Well, this isn't too awful. Well, we were a little off and on here. Gonna be a little bit of a drunken sailor on this one, but we're coming up on our course heading. And we'll watch and see. So there's 29 miles. Next course heading, so after HCH to LVT, our heading is 344 degrees. So 344. And of course, we've got great scenery outside the airplane. I think is Microsoft Flight Sim. Up. Very upset. Overspeed. Throttles back. Throttles back. Let's try about 78%. So this airplane, keeps us busy. I hope none of the passengers heard that horn now, man. back there. They'll think that there's somebody who's not very professional up here. It would be terrible. 22 miles out. They would probably be right. I think that this airplane has the potential to be a lot of fun. I think this is going to be a great commuter airplane. As soon as you learn this, I think it's going to, yeah, I think that it's probably good enough that you're going to be able to take this airplane into a VATSIM event. You may even be able to take it into an FNO, a Friday Night Ops event, where there's ATC all the way. I would be good with this airplane before I was ready for the FNO. Okay, so it looks like now we're back to Mach 7. I think we're going to need to pump this throttle up a bit. And I'm just doing throttle number 1 because it's going to sync all of my engines off throttle 1 for me. And I'm trying to get it to about 79, 80. And see if that doesn't get a little closer. 15 miles out. Hey, we're getting close to our course heading here. And that's what this flight is going to be. I mean, this is going to be full hands-on and do stuff. Next thing I'll do is probably when I get up tomorrow, I'm going to have a look at my, have a look at this, the FMC, and start trying to learn a little bit about this. I believe it looks an awful lot like the one in the CJ4. Now, I don't do too terribly well with CJ4, but okay, so about 12 miles. Let's go ahead, and I've set my heading basically right up here at the top. And we're going to be able to track on in. So to LVT, it's going to be 344 degrees. So dial this thing over to 344. There's 344. We got 10 miles to go. How's our speed? Oh, we lost a lot. So let's go ahead and bump this thing up to try and get it closer to 80%. There's 81. Let's see what happens with that. And at this point, all I'm doing is I'm trying to move my throttle number 1, and then I'll move the other one so that they're relatively close. But the synchronizer should sync all of these up here. Well, we're still not doing very good with that. Well, let's wait and see. I think patience is also a virtue. Here comes 6 miles. Let's see if we're picking up the new radio station, 108.4. Nope, we're not doing that quite yet. Kind of going over the top. Let's go ahead and make our turn. This will not be perfect, but it seems to be going pretty good. And this is what I'm going to be doing for about the next, I'd say, 45 minutes or so. Sim Toolkit Pro says, no, I'm going to be doing this for about another hour. So there you go. We made it. We're at cruise. The seatbelt lights are out. The passengers are getting free pizza and beer. I'd say this is a fairly successful flight. So we'll just keep doing this. I will go ahead and hit the pause button. You keep flying too. If something interesting happens, I will restart the video. Otherwise, I'll restart about 100 miles away from my top of descent. And my top of descent is going to be on the flight plan, the BVD VOR. So when we get about 100 miles out of BVD, I'll look for you again. In the meantime, wow, is this just a cool little airplane? Oh, no, I wanted to show you this one, not me. Yeah. This is a cool little fun airplane. Welcome back, and we are, as promised, about 100 miles. The amazing things that you can do with editing. And we've had a fairly good trip out here. The only big thing that has changed is we started to get in these thin, wispy clouds. And so even though it didn't say ice was detected, I decided let's be safe and turned on the ice protection. We are about 100 miles away from the estimated top of descent here, which is really going to be pretty good for us. So we are coming up here on Indianapolis. As you can see, we kind of weaved back and forth a little bit along the flight path, but as we go over Indianapolis, we're now tracking directly to the BVT VOR here. As soon as we get to the BVT VOR, we will go ahead and start doing our descent stuff. Well, actually, we're going to start doing descent stuff now because we're about 100 miles, and this is a great time to start doing your descent prep. So, first things first, let's check the weather at Chicago. Here is the latest weather, again using Metar-Taf. And I'm going to just hit the refresh button just in case. And uh-oh, we got a new one. So we got an updated here, updated Metar-Taf here. So let's see here. What do we got? I'm planning 2/8 setter. So there's 2/8 setter is what it looks like we're going to get here. Although it looks like 2/2s might not be such a bad choice. Yeah, let's see. Maybe one of those might make a little bit more sense for us. We're flying our own thing, so we can do our own thing here. Okay, so I guess maybe we could go 2-2 right. That's going to put us right out at United Land. How about if we switch over and plan on 2-2 right? So 2-2 right is the one that we're going to expect here. So let's go over here and we're going to get rid of 2-8 left. And let's go and find the ILS to 2-2 right. So ILS 2-2 right. So let's go ahead and grab that. So this is pretty good. So over at the charts that I got my stack on my charts, here we go. So final plunge altitude's not 4,000 feet, it's 2,000 feet here. So we're going to need a little more descent time, but we're going to be going further out here to pick up this descent, to pick up the ILS. Come on around at 2-2 right, should be able to stop right here. This taxiway is closed, so we got to go over this taxi. We'll get off at Alpha 3 and grab ourselves one of the gates over here. At the end, they usually put smaller commuter airplanes at the end of the, I believe they refer to that sometimes as the Banana or Concourse C. So we'll grab one of the Charlies at either end for a smaller plane. So all of that looks good. Let's plan on that. The final plunge altitude, we're not going to try a star. We'll do that when I try and do the flight management computer next time. So we're going to go down to 2,200 feet. Category 1 DME is going to be 200 feet, so we can set the decision height at 200 feet. So dial this in to 200 right now. There we go, 200 feet. We're doing pretty good as we track on into that second to last VOR here. We're 80 miles from about the time we're going to start our descent. To do all of this, from what I'm going to understand, we're going to hit the descent button. And we'll dial in a new altitude, hit altitude arm and descent. And then we'll just try and do an IAS descent and see what it does. The next VOR in my stack of VORs is Chicago Heights. That's going to be 114.2. So we can go 114.2. And that's already good. So there's Chicago Heights. BVT, we are 76 miles out. So that looks good. Now, if there was ATC, they would give us some vectors. So we're going to have to do our own vectors. But that's okay. So if we go over here and look, so 223, we're going to probably come out over the lake, and we can look at the sky vector planning here. So Chicago Heights is going to put us out right here south of the lake. So after we pass Chicago Heights, we'll kind of come in a little bit here to the Chicagoland area, and then but we'll basically turn north. And so we'll just turn north here. We'll keep going north until we start to pick up our ILS. So our vectors, Victor, are going to be turn north after Chicago Heights. How does that work for you? So that looks good. ILS frequencies 111.3, inbound course 223 degrees. So that should work out good. 71 miles till we start our descent. We already know, thanks to Metar-Taf, the altimeter setting is going to be 3004. So it's sort of like we've already got the weather information, and we're good to go there. And what else? What other trouble can we get in? Oh, wow, look at this. My airspeed has gone way down. Holy cats. It was, you know what? My airspeed was doing so well until I started up the recording again. Oh, well. So let's get it up to about 80. I was holding it about 80. I must have bumped the levers or something. So we'll just bump those levers back up there. And it's still sinking, so it's allegedly sinking all of these engines on this. Holy moly, that sure got slow. You got to watch everything that goes on this airplane. And it will keep you busy. Now, once we get a flight plan put into the flight management computer, that's going to help with LNAV great. So at that point in time, all we're going to have to do is manage our, we're going to just have to manage our throttles, our speed. So that's a thing. As we get into the Chicagoland area, I'm noticing a little more traffic picking up. Here's a Concorde flight. There's a SR-22. There's a P-38. Let's see. Cessna 172's over there. I can't tell what that one is. There's a 777. I'll bet they're going to Memphis. And we've got a nice lens flare off the sun. So thank you to J.J. Abrams, I'm sure, for doing lens flares. Okay, our speed's coming up again. I'm not going to push it up too much. We're relatively good on our course here, 60 miles out till we go to Chicago Heights. Let's see, I am out of the clouds, so I'm going to turn off my anti-ice. Our fuel is in relatively good shape. We've got 51, we got 5,000 on each side. The flight plan says that I need to have a total of 6,456 pounds total when we get in the gate, get to the airport. Otherwise, unless of course we have to hold, divert, or go around. So if this is going to be 3 point something, above 3 point something, then that means our fuel consumption is right on. And even though this is not something that you would use in a long-haul type of a flight, you know, getting your fuel right in this airplane is going to be a thing. It's going to be a good thing to do. 54 miles, we're getting a little bit off to the side here, so we'll go 2 or 3 degrees to the right. I've been just doing 2 or 3 degrees to the right. Our speed is now coming up to Mach 0.7, so we're getting our speed back up on time. Might have to drop it down. I am guessing that when they invented the auto throttle, boy, were there a lot of happy pilots out there. If you've just discovered the videos I do here on YouTube, I'm doing usually one fly along a week, and it's sort of like just what I do over on Twitch. It's a complete flight. You can hop in your airplane, fly along with me. The difference is the things that all the people that are flying along with us on Twitch, it's just you and me on this one on YouTube. So I'm able to concentrate just a little bit more on all the little buttons that you need to push. Okay, we're at 89% here. I'm going to go and roll this back to 85. Let's roll that back to 85 because we were going to overspeed, and the airplane gets cranky. And then it should sink the rest of our engines. I'm just moving the #1 throttle right now. Just moving the #1 throttle, and that sinks them. And again, it's done very easily here through the thrust control. You hit sync and make sure that master is set to 1 to that engine, and you're good to go. When we get ready to do our descent, we're going to hit the descend button there. We'll also go over here and click this. That's going to set bugs all over the airplane. That is a real nice time saver because you're going to need to do those things at a time when you're going to be really busy. And so that's kind of a good thing there. Okay, our speed's kind of coming up a little bit. Let's go ahead and get that throttle down to maybe about... And one of the things you're going to notice is your throttle movements are going to be very, very slow. You're not going to want to move them very much. At least that's the way mine seem to be set up here. If you look over on the Discord channel that's linked below, you'll see a place on the Discord channel where you'll see the places that we go. Almost all of the flights that we do on the Spy Flight are suggested by the people who are flying along with me. I will pick them on Sundays, and usually that is a hop between Greek islands because every day should be a day at the beach. That's kind of what goes on. So we got some flights in this airplane later on this week. We've also got a flight in what's really kind of become one of my favorite airplanes, the Rotate MD-11 over in X-Plane. I've really enjoyed learning that airplane. It's a very well done airplane. This, I think I'm going to enjoy learning to fly as well. I think this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. In fact, I kind of see this as becoming probably my main jet. Although, over in here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, the Airbus A320 from Fly-by-Wire, I mean, every week that airplane just keeps getting better and better. And before this airplane came out, I was going to do an update on how much the Fly-by-Wire just is becoming more and more like a real airplane. It really is getting amazing, the work that they're doing on Fly-by-Wire. So always a big three cheers to them for the work they're doing. So Microsoft Flight Simulator is doing really good. Of course, we've got the really great scenery. And the complexity of airplanes is getting better and better. But Microsoft Flight Simulator is also good if you don't know how to fly an airplane, because it's got flying lessons in a Cessna 152, which is how I got my private pilot's license, and that's a great airplane to get your private pilot's license in. Okay, we are 27 miles out. Remember, our top of descent is going to be fairly close to where we're coming out here. I think the winds, upper level winds are starting to pick up here too. So we're coming up on 25 miles from BVT. That's when we'll start our descent. Right at Mach 7, so that's looking pretty good. We're right on course, so we're being good pilots there. Let's see, current time, it is 15 after. Let's just go over here and do one little update. Let's hit it. So 22:15, 21:51 Zulu. Okay, I think that's okay. So that's good weather information. So we're gonna go with that for our landing. Mach 0.7, that's good. Maybe a few more degrees over here. I've already got Chicago Heights dialed in, 114.2, but I'm going to verify it because I do that. 1142, good. One of the other things that we'll be doing is setting up the ILS. Even though the weather is not bad in Chicago, one of the things that I do is, even if I'm going to do a VFR approach, it's sunny skies and beautiful, you know, I will, if I have an opportunity, if there's an ILS, I'm going to try and put it into the airplane. I'm going to dial it into the radio there and get it set up, because one of the things about flying flight simulators is I'm flying at home on my computer and it's a flat screen. Okay, the depth perception just isn't there like in a real airplane. But if you set up the ILS over here, you are going to get glide slope and localizer. And that is going to help you realize where it is that you are in the approach. It's another visual cue. And I think that having an extra little visual cue like that helps you with your landings. And in fact, real world pilots say that when they're doing their flight simulator training on the big full motion simulators, if they have time in the sim to set up the ILS, they will do that because it gives them the extra visual cue too. And so they'll do those things. Let's go and see if Chicago Heights is alive yet. And no, Chicago Heights did not pop up yet. So we'll just go back to BVD or G or whatever it is. Speed's okay. We don't have to worry about it too much. 10 miles. The course heading to Chicago Heights, 321 degrees. So we're going to dial this to 321. There we go. And I'm going to dial my heading over about now. And let's go ahead and do landing things. So again, we want 2,200 feet is going to be our altitude. So let's go 2,200 feet. So you just, I guess, hold it and click it. And that goes faster. So 2,200. There we go. Altitude arm. Let's go down here. We're going to hit descend. And we're going to click that. And that's going to set our speeds. And then we're going to go and pull the throttles back a little bit. Let's just pull these back and see if we start our descent like a good airplane. And IAS. Are you descending? Oh my gosh. Boy, that really put us in a descent, didn't it? Okay, well, we're on our way down. So we're doing good here. We're on the basic course heading. We just flew over the VOR, so that's good. Let's go ahead, and I'm just going to flip it now over to Chicago Heights. So Chicago Heights is 1142. There's Chicago Heights. So we're on our way to Chicago Heights. That VOR will come alive soon. Now then, 111.3 is the ILS. So let's dial in 111. Decimal 3. So now the ILS is all set for us. And as we just keep going this way, this should take us to Chicago Heights. Since we're new in this airplane, I think that a good thing to do is let's verify how we did on the turn. And not so bad. So you can see we're on our way to Chicago Heights just fine. There's CGT. After we get to CGT, we just basically turn north and hunt for the ILS. We are descending at about 1,000 feet per minute. So my guess is if I pull my throttles a little bit back a little bit more, we will descend faster. I would like to be a little bit closer to 1,500. Yep, there we go. There's closer to 1,500. One of the things that I've noticed is you've probably seen the Thrustmaster Airbus and throttle set that you can get, a really nice Airbus stick and the Airbus throttle, and generally their throttles are set for A320s, 19s, 20s, 2 engines. Well, I decided that I was a crazy flight simmer, so I wanted to get another throttle set, so I'd have 4 levers for like the 747, and yeah, I should get the Boeing version, but I've got to monetize a few more things before I can do that. So I just got the extra one. And so I put those together, and they're side by side, and it's really cool. I like it, but it's a little bit bigger. So even though my hands are normal sized and all that, trying to reach over and grab all 4 throttles is becoming a thing. Okay, so we're descending relatively good, 28,000 feet. Coming on into Chicago Heights. I see a couple airplanes ahead. I'm going to guess that these airplanes are coming into Chicago too. One of the things to do while you're flight planning and as you're getting new at this and you want to start, venturing into the world of multiplayer, but you might not be ready for VATSIM yet, is go to a real-world website like FlightAware or Flight Radar 24 and do KORD. Put in the airport you're going to and see what the real world is doing. And let's see what the real world's doing here at Chicago. Okay, so the real world is, they are all landing going to the east. Okay, so they're all technically landing to the east here. So we're kind of coming up here for the wind, and we're going to go over here. I don't think that that's all that bad. If I were, if I wanted to be a little bit better pilot today, maybe I'd go back to the original runway. But let's just go ahead and stick with the plan, because this is only the sort of the second time I've flown the airplane on a complete flight. I powered it up at the gates and stuff, but that's about all. Okay, I think we could use a little more power here. I think we're going down a tad bit too slow. There's closer to 1,000, which is fine. We're still not picking up Chicago Heights, though. So, again, it's okay. Go over and just check. How we doing? Well, we're sort of coming into Chicago Heights here. Not so bad. We are approaching 25,000 feet. 25,000 feet's when I come up here and do seatbelts. The seatbelt sign is really convenient. It's right there, so fasten seatbelts. There we go. Again, I do that somewhere around 25,000 feet, and look at that, there's Chicago Heights. Let's just go ahead and dial us over and see how far off the course we are. Okay, so let's just follow this in this way. That's cheating, but it'll get the job done. And we're 36 miles from Chicago Heights. How's our speed? We're at 250 knots. So you know what? That's a good speed, 25,000 feet. This generally feels pretty good here. Generally feels pretty good. I'm getting my course heading a little bit more off to the side here. I'd kind of like to be a little more direct to it. I think we're starting to pick up some upper level winds here. So our speed's still good. Ice detected. One day we're flying around in the 757 over on X-Plane, and all of a sudden it fell out of the sky. That was my lesson in icing. So here's the deal. If you don't know, if you're up flying around, jetting around, and you fly into clouds, and the temperature outside your airplane is 10 degrees Celsius or colder, engine anti-ice at least. And if it's really big, bad, visible precip, maybe your wing anti-ice too. 10 degrees or colder, anti-ice is your bud. We're right at 250 knots. I'll take that. I don't know how I ended up at 250 knots, so clearly I have reading to do. 1,200 feet per minute. That's not so awful considering we're going to go beyond the airport and land to the south. And nothing to worry about so much here. As we look in over here, so based on the weight of the airplane right now, let's see, so flaps 33 is 13, 118, 124, 134 for landing. VREF looks like it's about 160. Am I reading that right? I don't think we're going to land that fast. I think full flaps will land at about 115. I think I'm probably reading it wrong. The V-speed police are going to come breaking down the door. Okay, 19. Our current heading is actually pretty good. So we're just going to continue. This is going to take us out over Lake Michigan. We'll kind of come in, see if we can't catch a little of the skyline, although, you know, as usual, when there's some interesting scenery to see, in my world, the scenery, the clouds roll in. Sort of like, oh, wow, look at this. We've got farmland. Yes, wonderful. The Chicago skyline. Come on. Chicago pizza, that sort of thing. Uh-oh. Little bit more off. Let's go over here and get headed toward the VOR here. Fuel is 4.9, 5.0. I think we're not going to run out. I don't think we're going to invade the reserves. So that's a good thing. Reserves and worrying about your fuel and stuff if you're just starting out is not a huge concern, but eventually you're going to care about that sort of thing, especially if you're going to fly in something like Cross the Pond someday, because that's where you're going to use every drop in the tanks. And some of these little jet engines, drink fuel like a thirsty baby elephant. So you're going to want to make sure that your fuel planning is right on, because it's very embarrassing to do mid-air refueling, especially in a VATSIM event with 2,000 of your favorite flight sim friends. Okay, now we're getting a little bit more on course here. 9 miles away, so after we get to Chicago Heights, we'll just turn to a course heading. Well, yeah, we're going to turn to a heading north here. In fact, we better start making the... Whoops, not that one. I'm always grabbing the wrong one over here. Okay, there's 7 miles. We're a little bit off, but that's okay. So we're going to turn to our heading now of straight north. Our inbound course for the ILS is 223. So let's dial this around to 223. 223. There we go. I'm going to flip it on over to the ILS. It's going to be blank. There's also a VOR at Chicago, and that's 108.25. 108.25. Let's set the other one up here and see if we get... Okay, so see what this did? Nope, it didn't do that. That one should... I thought that should have given me a VOR... Maybe we're not picking it up yet. It's not that high a power version, so maybe that's okay. We know where we are, and we can also come on over here and just check and see. Okay, so we're going north. So this is good. We're just going to continue north here, go past the downtown area. We better get to see a nice view of the downtown area. Coming up on our transition altitude, 18,000 feet. You know what? Let's just go and check. 108.25. So let's come over here. And let's go on our standby here. 108.25. Let's flip that in and see if we have that one show up. 108.25. Did it show up down here? No, it didn't show up. So we're not picking it up over on the other one yet. We'll just leave that in there for a second. That way we're sure to get a... And what I really care about is distance from the airport. That's what I'm really caring about here. Okay, that's 18,000 feet. That's close enough, according to Metar-Taf. Metar-Taf says the altimeter is 3004. So let's go and do 3004. 3004. There we go. And we may have to fine-tune these. So there's the backup. There's the first officer. And good. All right. Looking at my flight notes on the descent, there's some things we have to turn on now. Thrust management is set to descent. We got to turn the PTU pump back on. We're also going to start up the APU in flight. Cabin signs are on, so that's good. So the APU is firing up here. I think that that's to provide the additional oomph and stuff. Ice detected. My engine anti-ice is on, so that's good. Let's go ahead and clear the caution. If we have to go around, I think that the airplane needs a little bit more juice or something. 4 engines out there on the wings isn't enough. So, not sure. So, landing lights at 10,000 feet. We're waiting for the Chicago Heights to pop in there. If you're new to your airplane or new to the sim, it's not cheating to go and do this. To go and look and see your moving maps, see where you are. And if you are brand new on a VAT sim event, that's another thing. It's entirely okay to do that. Okay, we are now not descending nearly fast enough, so let's pull the engines back here and go down a little bit further. A little bit faster, I mean. And it could be we're going to need to go down even... There we go. So what do we do? Drop it to about 52%. It's getting close to idle. We're still holding 250 knots. Yep, I think I need even more. My engines are now at idle. An idle descent here. How's our descent speed? Right around 1,000 feet, 16. It's not so bad. Let's go ahead and just check and see. Is the ILS showing up yet? Hey, look at that. The ILS is showing up. So we do have ILS. So there we go. That other radio, we weren't getting the Chicago VOR. That must be really low power. Passing 16,000 feet, we are going down to 2,200. If we need to go down even faster, you know what we could do? We could throw out the, flip open the speed brakes here. Holy cats. You put the speed brakes in, I think we're just now, oh wow, look at that, 2,000 feet per minute. Whoa. Okay, those little guys, the little things in the back of the airplane, they mean business. We're just a little bit high, so. Okay, I've got anti-ice on. We're going into some clouds, so that's good to go. Checklist, 10,000 feet is landing lights. We're also going to need to get our speed down a bit, too. Got to be at about 210 before I can start throwing out some flaps here. Again, I have no idea how it is that I would be changing our rate of descent on this, so I would really like to be able to do that. That would make this a little easier. We're probably going to have to go out a little bit further than I would like to go. Okay, anybody that I'm going to run into? There's Canbox over there. There's a CRJ7. We're coming into some clouds. We've already passed the downtown area. So a little speed brake is open there. And into the clouds we go. See, I think I saw an outside air temperature over here, the co-pilot. It's right around 0. So it's a good thing that we've got that, we got that anti-ice on. It says my ground speed's 290. Airspeed's 250. 11,000. I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of a turn here. So let's go ahead and do the reciprocal of the runway. And when you set your runway heading in, that's easy for you to go ahead and do a downwind and a base really easy. 10,000 feet. Let's do landing lights. So those are up. Let's do a cabin call, a cabin crew no. Uh-oh, that's on. I didn't mean to leave it on. So now we're all set on a base leg here. Passing 9,000 feet. Now on this approach, how far down? Now it wants 220 at Ridge. Actually, at Funk at 7,000 feet. So we can, at 7,000 we can turn in. So that should be good. I don't have Funk dialed in there, but we should be getting close. In fact, we're coming up on 7,000 about now. And look at that, there's my glide slope coming on up. So glide slope just started moving. The CRJ is climbing, so that CRJ is not a factor. I say, how about a base turn? Let's do 90 degrees and try and turn base. We're still going a little bit fast right now. Not so sure that I like this part of it, but what are we gonna do? I have more reading to do. That's not something you'll hear the real world pilots say. I have more reading to do. Yes, that's great. Let's see, at Nolan it's 5,000. Let's stop this at 5,000. Let's stop it at 5,000 and see if that helps me get a hold of my speed a little bit better. I think it should. We can also throw out some flaps here too. Okay, now we're on a really good base leg. I never picked up that other VOR. I wonder what happened with that. Chances are I may overfly this just a bit. So as soon as I see that move, I'll try and dial it in. There's our altitude alert. Good. Can't tell if it's moving or not. It feels like it's moving. It's moving. And let's point it towards the runway. Okay, 5,000 feet is our speed going down. Look at that, speed's going down. So, based on speeds that I've got written down, 210 is when I can start to throw out some flaps there. So, flaps 1. There goes some flaps. Let's put those speed brakes away. At this point, I'd like to be right around 180. Okay, we're pointed right towards the VOR. There is 180. And I can do flaps 2, and I'm gonna start pulling these throttles back up here, because I don't want to get slower than that for now. Okay, glide slope is there, so that looks good. All right, landing lights, flaps. AC hydraulic pump goes on. AC hydraulic pump is on. APU air goes on. Engine air goes off. Engine air goes off. Okay, and this is it. Here we are, it's all set. And anti-ice is off. Temperature outside the airplane is... I'm gonna leave anti-ice on just cause. It's okay to be a chicken about anti-ice, I think. I don't think there's that big of a penalty. How's our speed? Okay, 140, too slow. Okay, Nolan is gonna be, I believe, about 15 miles out. I was hoping to hold about 180. And that's when we're gonna start to see the glide slope go down. Everything's looking good. There's our speed. That's looking good. There's 160. Speed's coming back up. Watching my glide slope now. No DMing on this one. Very annoying. There's 160. I don't want to let it go get too fast over 180, but nope, it's going down again. Add a little bit more, slightly off to the side. Glide slope is now coming down. Okay, because we're new, landing gear. Landing gear is going down. With landing gear going down, they also say, I think we're good to go here. So gears down, I got 3 green. Flaps are rolling out.
Glide slope's alive.
Yep, it is. Okay. At this point in time, this is when I'm going to go ahead and take control. We're at 140. Let's see. I can do 145 is another notch of flaps. There's another notch of flaps. Gears out.
Autopilot disconnected.
AP is off. Captain's got the airplane. And we're going to start pushing this thing down just a little bit. And I'm just moving my control column forward. I'm trying not to do too much change in heading. And I'm trying to go down about 700 feet per minute. Speed's 40. Throttles are out. No auto brakes to set. No speed brakes. If you've got a trim setting, that really helps about now. No sign of the runway. If we were on VATSIM and there was no ATC, we would announce our intentions about now and say that we are a United Express BAe146 on final approach for runway 22 right. And if you're new, even if you're not ready to start doing VATSIM yet, practicing saying things like that is a good idea. It's a really good idea because that's going to get you ready for this. Throttling down a bit, going too fast. And a little more trim down. We're actually doing pretty good. Okay, that is the other runway. Maybe that's ours. That's probably ours. I thought that was the one on the other side. Man, we were off quite a bit. Our descent's pretty good, though. So we'll come on over here. Yep, speed could go down a little bit more. Thousand feet per minute. Let's not go down quite so fast. And let's turn it on over there, get lined up. Okay, yep, there's the other runway, so that's correct. The little Chicago 108.25 never showed up. We're a tad bit fast, but that's okay. I don't mind the speed. Little high. I don't hear the trim wheel going like you hear in other airliners. I'd like to hear the trim wheel going when I'm trimming the airplane. That would really be kind of cool. And of course, in the MD-11, you get Betty, the airplane voice, saying stabilizer motion. I hate to say it, but I need to either hear the trim sound or stabilizer motion, or I think I'm not running the trim wheel. I guess if I'd widen out the view here, that would be better. How are we doing on the glide slope? We're good on the glide slope. And we appear to be looking pretty good on outside the airplane too. It could be a little bit more over here. Getting a little low. I think think we could get over here just a little bit more. So we're going to be a little crabby on our landing. Airspeed's 145. That's not bad. I don't mind that. There's an interesting building. The scenery. You start coming into a place like Chicago, and the scenery is just amazing. It's awesome. It's like it's the next best thing to going. If you don't get to go to Chicago, this is the next best thing to going. It really is. Yeah, a tad bit low. Let's pull the nose up.
1,000.
And if you pull your nose up and stop descending as fast, then you got to make sure that your speed isn't going below what you think you should be going. I think that's the part of the Kennedy Expressway that branches off from the airport.
Speed check below 145. Select flap 33.
Thank you for the help. Okay, we're getting a little high. Not that kind of high. Wow, that's not something you see. 3 white lights. It's almost always 4 red with me. Just rolled my throttles back a tiny bit.
500.
Is that the IKEA?
Plus 100. Minimums.
Well, we're a little high, but shall we go for it? It's a flight simulator. We can.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Ground idle. Brake pressure seen. knots. 60 knots.
No reversers. That wasn't too awful. Put up flaps. Once again, skill and daring have overcome fear and anxiety. Sort of the family spy motto here. And if it sounds familiar, it's from Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. in the movie Airport 75 when they took off in the big 747. There's our gate. And coming up on clear of the runway. Lights go down to taxi. I'll call this a relatively successful flight. Okay, come on up here. We do strobes off. And let's see, I think I've got anti-ice on. We can turn these off. We're out of the ice at the moment. That's good. And it looks like we got a pretty good gate right up here. I think this is the one that these tightly packed gates over here, this is where they'll bring in the commuters. I think we've got some jets. Let's go to this one off to the side. Okay, after landing, flaps are up, speed brakes, and that's actually the end of my notes. I don't have any more notes, so I've got no idea. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna get Charlie 28. Okay, so I don't have the rest of the flows for this one. So I would guess that what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to turn on the APU generator before we turn off anything. And I'm gonna guess that that's probably good right about there. So that's good right there. We're gonna do parking brakes. Let's go up here and make sure the APU generator is on. You know what? I don't think I ever turned on. Oh, the generator is on. So the APU is on, the generator's on. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna guess we do it from the same order.
Cabin crew, doors to manual and cross
And that's good. We're going to do seatbelts can go off because they're going to just stand up anyway. The beacon can go off. I did my strobes. So good job there. I think all of those are good. No smoking. All of that's great. And so we can come over here. We can first of all look up here. And let's go to toolbar pushback. And go to aircraft. And jetway. This will get us a jetway. Hello there, Chicago Jetway. And there's our jetway. We can even go outside and watch a little of this too. Looks like I've still got, I've still got landing lights on. Embarrassing. Turn off your landing lights. Okay, there we go. And there we go. So those are off. APU is up and running. So our jetway is now in place. And with the jetway in place, we can come over here and do forward passengers. We can do forward cargo. And aft cargo. And that should do it. I think we made it. So the door's open. The passengers are getting off. Nobody had to, you know, throw up or anything. So that wasn't bad. What was the landing rate? The landing rate was minus 251. I'll take that. That's a great landing rate for any flight. So I think we did it. Congratulations, we made it. I hope your flight was as good too. Be sure and let me know. I'm still really new here on YouTube, so put a note in the comments. I read and respond to almost everything. You know, except for the people that yell at me and stuff. But seriously, thank you for flying along. Again, I always like to say about my cold and dark and my first look videos, it's not about the right way or the wrong way. It's about what works for me, and I sincerely hope that it works for you. I am new on YouTube. I read all the comments and questions, and I answer them, and I also will put them, might make a video out of it too. I do hope that maybe you'd consider coming on over and flying with us on Twitch. And if you really liked what you saw today, I'm too new on YouTube to be monetized, but if you'd like to show some support, I would definitely appreciate the support over on Twitch. And hopefully sometime I'll make it over here on YouTube. There you go. I think we made it. Congratulations. Thank you for flying. I love this little airplane. The little BAe146. I think it's going to be a permanent part of my hangar here. My hangar of airplanes here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I will look forward to seeing you in the friendly skies over on Twitch pretty quickly, and soon again here on YouTube. As I always like to say over on the other channel, stay healthy, stay safe, and cheers.